I'd like to welcome in now former FBI agent Scott Curtis. Scott, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. So, I want to start with the fact the president said he thinks with a high degree of certainty this is the right man. But we also know, Scott, that there were two announcements, first of a suspect, then of a subject. Both of those men had been in custody. They were later released. But that last announcement prior to this one had come directly from the FBI director on social media. Based on what we heard just a short time ago from the FBI, are you confident Tyler Robinson is the individual these law enforcement agencies have been searching for?
Yeah, I fully believe that. I looked over this probable cause affidavit that's online now and reviewed all the facts that the officer presented in that affidavit. And a lot of those facts support this individual here, Tyler Robinson, as being the perpetrator of this assassination there.
All right, so Scott, I want to talk about those facts. I want to talk about the evidence that we have been made aware of. But first, we know that Kirk was shot Wednesday, shocked so many people. How do you think, he was arrested then Thursday around, I believe it was 10 p.m. local time. How do you think this 22-year-old was able to elude capture for more than a day? How do you think that happened?
Well, number one, I think because there were so many people at this event, and with the chaos that ensued right after the shot was fired there, and the reaction to what happened to Charlie Kirk there, I think, people weren't paying attention to who may have done it at that moment. They were just in fear for their lives and looking to take cover. And some people may have thought they saw somebody that looked suspicious and that those individuals were identified to law enforcement. And then the due diligence that was done thereafter in questioning those individuals ruled them out. But then over time, as they, again, got a hold of more video surveillance footage, traced that individual as best they could before and after this assassination, it led to additional evidence being collected that was spoken about in the affidavit there, especially the rifle, the shell casings. And then once they got a good, clear photograph out there to the public, just like we saw with the Boston Marathon bombing and with the Luigi Mangione case, that really accelerated the number of tips that came into law enforcement where they were better able to narrow their focus.
Yeah, I think from that update we got last night, I mean, those images they released were really so clear. And I think, it definitely made it easier for somebody who knew him to say, wait a minute, that looks a lot like Tyler Robinson. All right, Scott, from your perspective, you said you read that probable cause affidavit. What stood out to you most? What do you think was key here? And then what do you think about the pattern in which some of this information has been released to the public?
Well, what caught my attention, number one, was that based on the timeline now as we know it, it seems that there was some advanced planning by this individual where he did survey the situation there, did casing of the situation, may have even rehearsed what actions he was going to take or where he was going to take a perch up and execute this plan of assassinating Charlie Kirk. So that caught my attention about the extended timeline of when he was on site. I think previously we thought that he was only on there maybe within a half an hour or so of the assassination. And then the information about the inscription, the writings that were left on these shell casings, again, like the Mangione's case there in New York, where it appears like he wanted to write things down, make it public to justify his actions here, sadly,
So we heard from quite a few officials this morning, including Utah's Governor Spencer Cox. I'd like to listen to some of what he said.
This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals, this cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been.
So, Scott, there's been a lot of focus on political differences. There has been a lot of finger pointing. Even the president, during a social media post the day this happened, attacked the radical left. We don't yet have a definitive motive, but we absolutely have political tensions, which have been high in America for quite some time. What is happening right now when it comes to the investigation into a possible definitive motive?
Well, first of all, sadly, I don't think a large majority of the public wants to debate any issues that are circulating out there in the media, on college campuses, or even in the workplace. Everybody is, I feel like, forced to choose a side. And once they choose a side, then there's no persuading them to switch to another side or have some differing opinion about something. Now, what's difficult in this situation here, again, as what we were told, that this individual appears to have acted alone, that makes it increasingly difficult for law enforcement to identify individuals like this who are going to take it upon themselves to right a wrong, in their opinion, and take some active violence against somebody that they perceive to be an enemy, or an enemy of the people that they associate with or they support. So it's very hard for law enforcement to pinpoint people like this. Maybe we will learn that somebody overheard or was in discussions with this individual about potential actions or things he would like to have seen done. And maybe that could be a learning point for the public and for law enforcement that, hey, if we see or hear that type of rhetoric, that we should err on the side of caution and involve potentially law enforcement, or at least refer that to somebody who can make a better informed decision about whether that's a threat or not.
Right, at least bring it to someone's attention. Well, along those lines, Scott, we haven't seen it as of right now, but, you talked about people being forced to kind of choose a side. Are you concerned about some type of retaliatory attack or action?
God, I would hope not. I would hope that the leaders in this country, from public officials to leadership in universities in this situation here, would be more proactive in diffusing a lot of this rhetoric, attacking one side or attacking somebody's beliefs or their views. And again, find a way to find some common ground with people that you don't agree with or people that you oppose. I mean, I spent a living in my career dealing with a lot of violent criminals out there, and I could always find some common ground with them when I interacted with them on the street. And that's what people need to do. Find what you have in common with somebody and what you can agree on, instead of going right to what you disagree about.
Yeah, more important now than ever. Former FBI agent Scott Curtis, thank you so much.